Hello dear students, welcome to this new lesson which is intended for students of grade 12. In today's episode we're going to revise language functions from Module 2 Unit 4. But first we'll take a short break, then we'll be right back. So stay with us. Welcome back, dear students. As I said earlier, today we're going to revise language functions from Module 2, Unit 4, which is entitled The Earth at Risk. Okay. So, here is the language functions that we are going to revise. Number one, we'll start with describing environmental problems. Then we'll move to expressing opinion and giving explanations. Another language function that we are going to study today is describing a problem, and we will see its effects. Also, we're going to learn about expressing preference and describing photographs. And also, we're going to learn how to compare and contrast pictures or photographs. Okay, so we have lots of things to learn. So it's going to be an exciting lesson today. Right, let's start with the first language function, which is describing environmental problems. By describing, we mean talking about. Okay? And environmental problems, these are issues, these are problems related to our planet, the planet where we live, the Earth. Okay? So let's start with the environmental problems. When we say ecological issues, we're talking about problems such as pollution, for example, and we have different types of pollutions: air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, or littering. Also, noise is considered as a type of pollution. Okay? Now, also, we're talking about problems such as desertification, okay? Or also deforestation. Water scarcity is another ecological problem. Water scarcity, also referred to as water shortage or water paucity. Global warming is another problem we will talk about. Okay? Now, here is our friend Ali, okay? And he is talking to his friend Ahmed. What are they talking about? Well, have a look. They're talking about this. Okay? Now, try to describe this picture. What do you see? What environmental problem do you think they are discussing? It is the problem of pollution. Okay? In particular, it is air pollution that they are talking about. Now, how is Ali going to introduce this problem? How is he going to describe such an environmental problem? He's using such a sentence: pollution is a serious problem. Is a serious problem is an expression that is used by Ali to introduce or to talk about pollution. Okay? Here is a different way of expressing or of introducing this issue. Okay? Air pollution is particularly hazardous. The word hazardous means dangerous. Okay? Another different way of introducing or describing such a problem is to say pollution became a real threat. And threat means a menace, a danger, a risk to our life and our community. Again, this is another way of describing environmental problems such as pollution. Pollution is a major global danger. It has become a danger on a global scale, okay, on an international level. Nice. So we move to another picture. Try to talk about this environmental problem. What do you think it is? This picture illustrates the problem of desertification or also deforestation. Okay? So let's see Ahmed now talking about such a problem. He says, desertification is a major cause of concern. Okay? Or also, he could say, desertification levels are alarmingly high. Okay? Which means that desertification is increasing. Okay? Deforestation has become a popular issue. It has become a widespread issue, a problem that people are discussing and talking about in the media or in serious meetings and seminars and so on. Okay? Deforestation has risen worldwide concern. It's roughly the same meaning as the previous sentence, but it is using different words. And what it's actually means that deforestation has become an international problem. okay, a serious problem which is open for discussion. Right, now let's move to the last picture. So have a look at it, and let's see how Ahmed is describing such an issue. He says, some of the environmental problems associated with these areas include desertification, water scarcity, and drought. Okay? So here is Ahmed enumerating or listing some or a few environmental problems, and he uses such expression to introduce these issues. He says some of the environmental problems. It means that he is going to talk about a few, not all these environmental issues. So he says some of the environmental problems associated with these areas include, and then he starts listing the problems. Right, now let's wrap up the first part, which is describing environmental problems. The first expression you can use when you talk about problems related to our planet is to use such an expression. Some of the environmental problems associated with these areas include, and then you talk about the problems: pollution, global warming, desertification, and so on and so forth. Okay? Next expression you can use: the problem itself, pollution for example, is a serious problem. So you use the expression is a serious problem. You can also use it became a major problem to our ecosystem, to our environment. Ecosystem is another word for environment. Also you can say our planet is threatened by the danger of pollution, of global warming. Or global warming is a major cause of concern. Okay? It is also possible to say it is dangerous for our planet. Okay? The levels of pollution or global warming are particularly hazardous, are particularly dangerous and risky. And last expression here is to use is the most pressing environmental issue. Okay? So far so good. Now we move to describing photographs. Now when do you need to describe photographs? For example, you're doing a YouTube tutorial, or you took a snapshot during your holiday and you're trying to describe the picture or the elements of your picture to someone close or to your friend. Now, when we describe photographs, which means we're talking about photographs, there are a few things that we have to consider. In a photograph, there might be so many different elements, so many parts, so many persons. And the person who is listening to you should be directed. When you talk to a particular part of the photograph, you have to use particular words. For example, have a look at the following snapshot. Okay? It illustrates a program, a Microsoft program, which is Word. Okay? If I want to explain what is the interface of Word, I could say the top part, or at the top, there is the banner. Okay? So notice the expression at the top. So I hope that everyone is looking at the top part of the picture. You almost forget about the part that is below that. Okay? So we have this part which is on the left. Okay, so on the left of the picture, on the left of the photograph. If you want to talk on the opposite side, you say on the right side of the picture. So on the right. And the part that is below is at the top. Now notice the use of the prepositions. We say at the top, at the bottom, on the left, on the right. Okay, clear? Now what about the main part? Okay, so this working area is in the middle. It is located in the middle, okay, in the center. Okay, so let's move to this photograph, for example. We can say the photograph. Another word for saying photograph is a photo or a picture or an illustration. Sometimes it's a graph, okay? So there are so many words that you can use here to start describing a photograph. And also you can use different verbs. You can say the photograph illustrates, or the photograph is about, or the photograph shows, okay? And then you complete your sentence. The photograph here illustrates different ways of consuming less water. Okay? You can use the following expressions. You can say, on the left of the picture, on the left side of the picture. You can say, in the middle of the photograph, and you focus the listener's attention to the center of the photograph. You can say, at the top of the illustration, or it is obvious, it is clear that this picture is talking about pollution or another ecological problem. Okay? You can see, or as you can see here, the picture is talking about different ways of saving water, of consuming less water. Okay? You can use also the expression, it seems that. It seems that this picture is talking about different ways of such and such thing. And you can use the expression, it is clear that. Okay? So it is clear that is synonymous. It has the same or equivalent meaning as it is obvious. And the last expression for today is, it is an image of. It is a photograph of such and such thing. It is an image of so-and-so problem. Okay? Good. Now, here is an exercise just to test your understanding of what I've just said. One expression is not used to describe photographs. Try to find it out. Now, I'll go through the expressions again. One is not used to describe photographs. Try to find which is the expression. Okay? On the left of the picture, in the middle of the photograph, at the top of the illustration, it is obvious, you can see, it seems that, it's not allowed to take photos, and it's clear that. Did you spot the odd man out? Okay? Try to cross it out. And it is this one. It is not allowed to take photos. Now, this expression is not used to describe photographs. It is used to express prohibition or something that is not allowed to be done. Okay, try to describe the following paragraph. This is just an exercise for you. So what do you see here? What is the first thing to start with? Maybe the bridge. Okay, so it is obvious that this photograph illustrates the process of desertification. Now, this is your global impression, an overview of the image. It is obvious, it is clear that this picture shows the process of desertification. In the middle of the photo, there is a bridge leading to a giant tree, to a big tree. So there is a bridge, and the bridge is leading to the tree. Now, you can see that the tree has its right half green, whereas the left part, or the second half, is dry and leafless. Now, on the left of the tree, on the left side of the tree, the sky is blue, reflecting its beautiful bright color on the sea surface. How about the opposite side? So, on the right side of the tree, the landscape changes. As you can see, it's a desert, and it becomes gloomy and dry. So if you start from this side of the picture, the opposite side of the picture, then you see that there is a dry tree, and the landscape changes altogether, right? So in this exercise, we have practiced describing a picture. Great. Now let's move to the next language function, which is expressing opinion. This is just a reinforcement, because you have studied this before in earlier years, and we're going to go through this very quickly. Now, have a look at the picture. Let's read the sentence together. It reads, in my opinion, there was poor sanitation in the village. As a consequence, the villagers had health problems. Now, what if I want to express my opinion using a different expression? I want to change the expression in my opinion. What could I use? Have a guess. You can use, my opinion is that. And the sentence reads, my opinion is that there was poor sanitation in the village. Is there a different expression that I can use to express opinion? Yes, there is. Okay? It's the expression, I think that. I think, I believe. Okay, so I think that there was poor sanitation in the village. Now notice that the sentence is the same. What I am changing is just the expression that I use in order to show to the listener that I am expressing my opinion, that this is my personal way of thinking of such a problem. Now, also you can see, or you can use as I see it. Okay, so the sentence reads, as I see it, there was poor sanitation in the village. You can use I believe that. I believe that there was poor condition in the village. Or you can say, my personal point of view is that, and you complete the sentence. All right. Have a go. Try to express your opinion concerning these two pictures. What do you think? What's your opinion? Okay? Which is better? Okay? So for example, I can say, in my opinion, and it's personal opinion, in my personal opinion, using modern irrigation system is better than traditional ways of irrigating the lawn or the land. Okay? So this is just my personal sentence. You can express it in different ways. Okay? I think you have practiced enough. Let's move to the next language function, which is comparing and contrasting photographs. You're going to compare and contrast. What does these two terms mean? Okay? Comparing, contrasting. By comparing, we mean that we're going to talk about the similarities. For example, let's compare football and rugby. Well, they are both sports. Okay? So I'm looking at the similarities between the two. When we talk about contrasting things, when we try to contrast things, then we start talking about the differences. Okay? So, for example, tennis and basketball. Basketball is a team sport. Tennis is an individual sport. Now, what expressions can we use to compare? To compare, we use these two photographs are similar in. Okay? So we say these two photographs. We can also say both pictures show. For contrasting, we use whereas, in comparison with, on the one hand and on the other hand, on the one side and on the other side. And also we can use unlike. Unlike rugby, tennis is an individual sport. Okay, dear students, we move to the next language function, which is expressing preference. Now, to express preference, you use expressions such as I prefer to, or I prefer something over something else, or I prefer something instead of something else. Also, you can say I prefer this rather than that. Okay? You can use the expression I would prefer, or my preference is, and you complete the sentence. You can also use I would rather this than that. I would rather coffee than tea, for example. Also, you can use the expression I choose. I choose this. So here is an exercise for you. Have a look at these two nice cars. Okay, they are luxurious ones. And the dealer or the car dealer would like to know the color you like for your car. You're going to buy a car, a brand new one, and the car dealer, the salesperson, is asking you which color do you prefer. So you're going to express your own preference, and I want you to use the verb choose. I choose. Go ahead. I'll give you a few seconds to think. Try to speak out your answer. Use I choose, and give me the color of your choice. Okay? For example, you can say, I choose the white color. Okay? Or I choose the black colored car. Another exercise for you to practice expressing preference is have a look at the picture and use I prefer this to or over or instead of or rather than something else. Here is the situation. Your father would like to know whether you want a smartphone or a tablet. Okay? So make a choice. What do you prefer? I'll give you a few seconds to think. Well, you might have thought of the following sentences. I prefer the tablet over the smartphone. Or you can say, I prefer the smartphone rather than the tablet. Or another sentence that you might have thought of is, I prefer the tablet instead of the smartphone. Okay? So it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of preference. You might have come up with a different sentence. Great. Now let's move to giving explanations. When you give explanations, you introduce a purpose or the result, or also you link a cause to an effect. These environmental problems are caused by human activities. Are caused by is the expression here that links the first part of the sentence to the second one. Now, let's see different expressions that we can use to do the same thing. Okay? Have a look at the following sentence. Trees are felled so as to make more agricultural land. Trees are cut down in order to make more fields. Trees are cut down so that farmers could use more agricultural land. The activities of human beings are often the real cause of desertification, or because there are growing numbers of people to feed, farmers tend to overcultivate their land. Let's go back to sentence number 1. Trees are felled so as to. So as to is used to introduce the purpose. Okay? So as to. Another way of saying so as to is to say is to use in order to, or simply to. So that in the third sentence is used to link the second part of the sentence with the first part. In the fourth sentence, we use are often the real cause of. And last sentence we have because. So to talk about the reason, to give the reason, we use because. Now let's move to practical part. What would you say in the following situations? Here is the first situation. You heard in the local news that the level of CO2, carbon dioxide, in the region has sharply increased or risen. So what could be said here? You can say carbon dioxide emissions is a real threat to people's health. We've got to take action to curb or decrease air pollution. You can also say, I wish we could do something to reverse this ecological problem or disaster. You might also think of a different way to fulfill such a situation and say, this is really shocking. Another situation, you read an article in an online blog saying that water scarcity is not a big issue these days. So, how would you react? You can describe the environmental problem. You can express disagreement. For example, you can say, I don't agree with this point of view. Water scarcity already affects every continent and around 2.8 billion people around the world at least 1 month out of every year. This is an elaborate answer. You can simply say, I completely disagree with the writer of this article. The information given is misleading. So simply you can just express your disagreement by saying, I disagree or I don't agree, and so on. Another situation, your new neighbor doesn't know why you wash your car using a water bucket instead of a hose. You can give explanations, you can describe a problem and its effects, or you can simply express your preference. Okay? Example or a sample answer could be, it's simply because a hose uses more water than washing the car, or when washing the car. You can say, I believe using a hose wastes hundreds of liters of water. 1 bucket of water is enough to wash my car. Okay? One of your soccer teammates says that smoking doesn't seem to affect his health. Well, express disagreement, you can warn, or you can give explanations. So you can say, this is a complete nonsense. With all the toxic substances you inhale, you still believe this won't affect your health? You can say, well, it may seem harmless in the beginning, but it's really fatal in the long run, or in the long term. You can also say, if you don't quit smoking soon, I'm afraid I will have to tell our coach about this bad habit, and this is a warning. You can also say, are you serious about this? All major studies point towards the disastrous health risks of smoking. Or you can also say, I think you don't know what you're talking about. You may get lung cancer because of smoking. Here is another different situation altogether. And it reads, your brother keeps complaining about the inaccuracy of the weather forecast. And the answer is, just remember that weather forecasting is not an exact science. Well, dear students, this lesson has come to an end. In this lesson, we have revised language functions from Module 2, Unit 4. I hope it was beneficial to you. Until we meet next time, I wish you all the best. Take care.